And we are now live. He says at the top of the screen, it says this hangout is now live. So all intents and purposes at this point, anyone who is subscribed to our YouTube channel should have received a notification saying Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego is now live on a Sunday, which means the chat room is now up and running as well. If you do want to jump in there, and if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about on today's show, as always, it's your show. It's a round table, which means anything you want to put to us, we'll, of course, cover in the next half an hour, 40 minutes, however long we want to keep going. And, of course, don't forget, after the show, we will be doing a Patreon-only broadcast. So if you are a supporter of Patreon, you will be able to join us from 7:30 here in the UK. So in about an hour and a half's time, we'll be able to invite everyone in who's gratefully supporting us on Patreon. And we'll talk about things, stuff, and nonsense, which is the way of the world. I kind of just waffle on for a bit and speak my mind for about 20 minutes, half an hour. So if you'd like to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. And of course, all the other ways that you can watch us and listen to us as well. If you are listening on mixler.com/EnglishmanSDCC, thank you very much indeed. We have got the chat room open for that as well. So if you are listening on that, jump in, any questions, and please do let us know if there's anything you want to talk about today. We'll dive into everything in a couple of minutes' time. We'll go live with our guest. I know that one or two people are looking forward to the triumphant return of Mark Serby, who was supposed to be joining us on today's show. We did say he was going to be our co-host for today, except the boy remembered 3 days ago that he's got tickets to the Arctic Monkeys. He ain't going to be coming on this thing at all. It's a tough call. Spend your Sunday evening talking to us, or go and see the Arctic Monkeys. I kind of see where he's coming from. So yeah, that's where he is this week. So it is just myself, but it's all you as well. Jumping on the chat room if there's any questions. Of course, I have had one or two people asking about the new site and also about an EnglishmanInSanDiego.com. What's happening with that? At the end of the day and at the end of this month, we will be no longer posting to an EnglishmanInSanDiego.com. We are going to keep the site up for a little while longer while we just port some graphics and favorite articles over as well. But we will be opening up the doors to our new site, the Convention Collective, on Monday, the 1st of October. We've already got the social medias up and running. Hopefully you've been seeing one or two of Dan Berry's pictures from Long Beach Comic Con. He's been there this weekend. We've also been sharing a couple of Tina Gann's pictures as well from Singapore, which that looks like a lot of fun, but it always does. That show is always a lot of fun. But we are going to be talking about conventions. We're also going to be talking about the relationship between companies and people that want to bring product to showcase at conventions, and that's where we're going to be talking to our special guest today. But we'll get into that in a second. We're also going to be doing our revelation of our competition winner. We've got a lot to do. We've got a lot to get into, so bear with us. We will dive in. Right, we are pretty much at the top of the hour, so if I get myself all set up and hit live on a couple of things, so we're all in place. Right. Submit to that. Okay. Welcome along to Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name's Leonard Sultana, and this is the show where each and every Sunday we talk Comic-Cons, con culture, and all the stuff and nonsense that goes on at such events. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. If you received the notification that we are live, that means you're a subscriber, and we really appreciate that you follow us on YouTube. But don't forget, there's other things that you can find us and what we get up to as well. Find us on Twitter, EnglishmanSDCC. And of course, you can listen along to the show at mixler.com/EnglishmanSDCC. This is where I just keep saying EnglishmanSDCC until like little foam appears at the side of my mouth. And I just keep tripping over myself. But I do want you to follow along and share the love and let everyone know that we are live and talking about Comic-Cons and all sorts of stuff and nonsense that has happened over the last couple of months, especially when it comes to San Diego, because we've got a special guest joining us today. who I'm really excited about speaking to. We've got Jeff Assen who's joining us. Hello there, Jeff. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Leonard. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. I do like the fact that when we look at you on the YouTube and on the stream, you've got whiteboards all over the place. It's all plans. It's all action.
This is my secret lair. This is all the company, our plans of world domination posted for all to see.
So if you're a follower of Legion M, if you're expecting some kind of like a big massive round table of kind of like world domination with the volcano bubbling in the background, I don't think that's quite the way it works, because it really is.
Conference room was already booked, so I wasn't able to get that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We've got ourselves the chat room, and if you do have any questions for Jeff, please do dive in, because especially if you went to San Diego Comic-Con this year and you went along to Harbor House, because you took over. You just basically went down there and just took over that. I mean, that's quite an epic building down there on Harbor. Yeah, what was that like as a venue?
Well, it was incredible. We this is our third Comic-Con as a company. We're a brand new company, and so each year we keep leveling up to bigger and better things. And this year we partnered with Skybound on the whole Harbor House thing and the Legion M Lounge. We had a bunch of great people, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Stargate, and a bunch of people come in and do takeovers and activations. And
I hope we haven't lost Jeff.
Kind of get the level up.
You froze there for a little while, but I think we got the general gist that things have just been progressing with Legion M all the way throughout. But I didn't also realize that this was your third year at San Diego Comic-Con. I know that you've been at Legion M, at San Diego before, so kind of representing in a slightly smaller scale. What has been the progression of Legion M at San Diego?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, like I said, when we started out 2 years ago, we were a brand new company, and we just, we partnered with somebody at a tiki bar, which was awesome. And for us, San Diego is it's such a great place for us to connect with other people, kindred spirits. I mean, I think that's what Comic-Con is, just in general. But, Legion M is really, we're a community more than like a corporation. And so it's really an integral part of our plan. We look at Comic-Con in San Diego. We look at Sundance Film Festival as kind of the two ends of our spectrum, so to speak. And then we go to as many Comic-Cons as we can support, because for us, that's the way that we're engaging face to face. That's how we're opening the gates of Hollywood for our members and shareholders. So it's really a big highlight of our season.
I think that's really interesting, the way that you'd say that about the two bookends of two very different events. And I find that very interesting, considering that you are touching on many different strains of multimedia in terms of what Legion M are doing. I think we'll backtrack a little bit for people perhaps who aren't familiar with Legion M. First and foremost, introduce yourself first, and then explain what inspired you to create Legion M.
Oh, fantastic. Well, so I'm Jeff Assen. I'm one of the two co-founders of Legion M, and we're the world's first fan-owned entertainment company. It's kind of like everybody at Comic-Con pooled their money and said, let's create an entertainment company of our own. We're taking advantage of some brand new securities laws in the United States. I know that equity crowdfunding has been around for a few years longer in the UK and in Europe, but 2 years ago, the Jobs Act, which was a piece of legislation that went through it in the Obama era, was put into effect. And what that did is, for the first time in America, it allowed regular people to invest in early stage startups. Prior to that, it was only the wealthy elite. It was literally the wealthiest 3% of the population was allowed to invest in a startup. And it didn't matter if you were next door neighbors with Mark Zuckerberg, or whatever. It's just the laws were set up to limit who had access to these early stage investments. And so in our case, we said, well, what if we built a movie studio, a company that creates entertainment? Because it seems pretty obvious, if you've got an entertainment company that's owned by a large audience of fans, the very people that you want to come out and see your entertainment projects, it gives you a huge competitive advantage in Hollywood. Because when our movie comes out, we know that our legion of people are going to come see it, because, I mean, first of all, they're financially invested in it. Second of all, they've usually had a chance to come along for the ride as we've developed it. They were there when we got involved and all that great stuff. And so it's really a remarkable way to open the gates of Hollywood and allow the people to be kind of part of the process. And like I said before, it's something that's very fun to do, because it's really cool to have a fan-owned company. But it's also more than that. It's the foundation of an extremely powerful business model that we think has the power to revolutionize Hollywood.
I think that it's really exciting as well that you can, like you say, you can also draw on basically a direct connection with the fans and with people who are very much clued in with what they want to see on the screen and in various multimedias as well. But I also find it curious as to how you then curate that, and how you kind of take all those disparate voices which are coming at you from your investors and create something, and how you pick and choose the projects that you're going to do. How does that work?
So it's a great question. And, the first thing that we like to say is that we have a saying at Legion M: you don't make great art by committee. So this isn't the sort of thing where, we're voting on plot lines, or everybody is contributing, or, we're not going to give your notes to the director, that sort of thing. Our belief is that you make great art by finding great artists and investing in them, and then staying out of the way. And so when it comes to finding great artists and finding projects, that's where the Legion has a tremendous advantage. And that's one of the powers we call the Legion of Fans. Like, that's our differentiator between us and, say, Disney or a privately held studio. And it's really our superpower, because, if you think about it, we've got a legion of people that are invested in seeing the company succeed. And so when we want to go scout, new IP, we can go out and say, hey, what are you guys reading? Like, what's something that hasn't been made into a movie that really should be made into a movie? When we go to film festivals, we figure out ways to allow the Legion to come with us, whether it's the case of Sundance, where you literally can come to the festival and be a Legion M scout and help us evaluate all of these movies, right? Because, I mean, the fact is, when a studio, when a traditional Hollywood company comes to Sundance, they can't see all the movies, right? They come in and so many decisions are made just based on small groups of individuals, and it's their gut feel, and they have to deal with all the personal politics and the social dynamics and the way that they, as a small group of people, make a decision. In our case, we've got all these people that we can bring in to help us guide what we're doing. So when it comes to choosing projects, we're constantly looking for ways to get data from the Legion. And it's not as easy as like a straight up vote, sort of system, because there's two sides of Hollywood. There's the art side and there's the business side. And we think that a huge group of fans is an incredible asset to help us evaluate and assess and scout the art side of it. When it comes to the business side of Hollywood, that's much trickier, because it's very complicated. It's subtle. A lot of the information is confidential. And so we marry that with an advisory board that has people like Dean Devlin and Leonard Maltin and Tim League, and people that have proven track records of success in entertainment.
Yeah, they're not amateurs, are they?
No,
they're not first timers.
Yeah. So it's really like, that's what Legion M is it's we've got this unique superpower that nobody else has. I mean, we're the first company that's ever been built from day one to be owned by fans. And that is just, it's a fundamental difference that we work very hard to bring to bear on every single thing that we do.
Do you find as well that the number of the people that have invested in Legion M and joined the Legion have also joined to kind of bring to bear their ideas as well? Because I can imagine there were a number of people that joined initially, or still do join, and think, well, I've made the investment. Here's something that I've created. Could this be the next project? I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of pressure to kind of keep everything under an even keel, as it were.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think that for small independent creators, or even hobbyist creators, people that aren't necessarily, trying to do this as a full-time job. But I mean, there's a lot of people that write screenplays, and there's amazing ideas that are out there. And so I think that we're very attractive for those people. We're also very attractive. We've got a lot of people in Legion M that literally work in the industry and just love the idea of a company that's owned by fans, as opposed to like a corporate conglomerate or Wall Street or something like that. So there are a lot of people in Legion M that are creators. There are a lot of people that have projects of their own. And, we tell people, like, look, we can't fund everybody's projects. I mean, but what we do is we try and find, again, ways that we can leverage and tap this. So we set up forums, for example, that allow people to network and communicate. Because our feeling is, like, Legion M is going to do this many projects per year. If you look at everything that's happening within the Legion, there's this many projects each year. And so you may not be able to get on a Legion M project, but I mean, if you can network within the community, there's huge resources for you there. The other thing that we did this great thing called Pitch Elevator, where we built a full-size elevator on the floor of Comic-Con. It was Los Angeles Comic-Con. And anybody, like literally anybody, there were no restrictions. We had small children, and we had, senior citizens, and most of them in cosplay, got to step in, and inside there was a cameraman and a countdown timer with 2 minutes on the clock. And you had 2 minutes to pitch your idea for a movie or TV show. And we got hundreds and hundreds of pitches that then we built a game that allowed our community to go in and rate and evaluate these different pitches and narrow them down. And the whole idea behind that is that anybody can have a great idea. What most people lack is the ability to get that in front of the people that can make a decision. So for the top 10 pitches, they're going to get a chance to pitch live to a panel of scouts and agents and people in the industry, people that can make their dreams come true. And one of them will win a Legion M development deal, where we're going to add their project to our slate and try and develop it.
Nice.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a great way to really. I mean, that's engagement with your core audience on a major scale. That's something else. I think the next question then for myself is, like you say, you're creating these projects. When I first started seeing Legion M, it was very much in terms of kind of small activations and events, which kind of what was generating the interest in Legion M. And I thought at first that was what Legion M was all about, creating experiences as well for your Legion. But the end goal is creating films and creating projects. Where does the scale kind of fall into that in terms of the projects that you do? What is the end goal for yourself? Is it the films, or is it also the experience that you have with the Legion?
Well, for us, they're kind of part and parcel, right? So far, we've had 3 movies that have come to theaters. The first one was our very first project about a year and a half ago, was called Colossal, with Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. And amazing movie. We were so fortunate to get the opportunity. And obviously, we didn't produce that movie. Like, we don't have nearly enough money to produce a full film of that magnitude. But what we were able to do was to invest some of our money. So everybody invests in Legion M. We pool the money, and then we find these projects that we're going to make our investments in. And they started off really small. And, you know, now they're getting larger. They're still extremely small by Hollywood standards. But over time, as our Legion gets larger, we get access to more projects. We've got more money to develop. I mean, I don't know if you can see this. Our logo, the M with a bar over it in Legion M, is the Roman numeral for 1 million. Because our long-term goal is to unite 1 million fans as shareholders of the company. And if we're successful doing that, we'll have raised hundreds of millions of dollars to develop projects that have 1 million people standing behind them when they launch. And if you can imagine that company, like that could be one of the most powerful, or one of the most influential, I should say, companies in Hollywood. And so that's what Legion M is all about. We're building a fan-owned entertainment company. It's never been possible before. And it's, you know, we look to produce all of these things. But the events that we do are just a natural extension. So when Colossal came out, or a second movie, Bad Samaritan, which was a Dean Devlin film, the guy that created Stargate and Independence Day and Leverage and The Librarians. And so that was his film. And we participate in that, our third one, Mandy. But when we do those, there's just such a natural opportunity. Like our movie is coming out, and we've got tens of thousands of people around the country that are involved with it. And so we create these things called meetups. And it's simply a Legion M member saying, look, let's all get together. We're going to watch it at this theater at this time. Everybody pays their own way. But let's watch this together. And it's a way to do three things. I mean, it's a way for us to try and bring people out to the theaters to see our movie, which again helps us as a company and helps our investment. Two, it's a way for our members and investors to celebrate. Like, you know, in Mandy, this movie that's coming out, our production credit is a photo mosaic that is, you know, made up of faces of all the Legion M members and investors that decided to upload their photo. So for a lot of these people, their face is in this movie. And so it's a really cool opportunity to say, hey guys, this is my movie. Let's go see it. And so and then on top of that, it's also like, we're big believers in the theatrical experience, right? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but you know, when I expect when we were coming up, because you went to the movies to see a movie, like that was the only way that you could see a movie. And, you know, today we live in this world where you're just as likely to watch a film on your phone as you are at the theater. And like, that's great. And there's wonderful advantages to that, but it's so amazing. There's nothing like getting a large group of people together to watch a movie and share that experience. And then afterwards, maybe go for drinks or ice cream or something like that. And so like I said, we're in this for the movies. We're in this to build an entertainment company. But for us, these meetups and activations at Comic Cons and film festivals, like that's just part of our DNA.
I was grinning quite widely there because on my personal Twitter account, I actually have a quote from Mark Kermode, who's a critic here in the UK. And you were talking about sort of like the connection with the big screen experience. The quote is, "A cinema without a projectionist is not a cinema. It's a sweet shop with a video screen." I am a big fan of the big screen experience. I'm with you on that one. So absolutely. I was going to ask this question, but I think you've kind of answered it the way that Legion M actually creates these films, because I was thinking that Legion M actually is involved very much in the production of the film, that it's Legion M Presents, as it were. Because the one thing that's certainly for modern films, part of the problem of getting eyeballs to see a film is marketing. When you look at the way that budgets are broken down, marketing is a massive part of that budget of making of a film. But you're not necessarily involved in that area. You are more an investor in the actual production itself before it reaches that stage. Is that right?
Yeah, you know, honestly, it ranges all over the map. So in the case of Bad Samaritan or Colossal, for example, in that case, we invested in the P&A, which is essentially the marketing fund. And like you said, for a lot of movies, you spend more money marketing and getting the word out than you actually do producing the film. And that's just the way that it works. And so, you know, there are all sorts of different ways that you can invest in projects. And so P&A investing is one opportunity. And there's a lot of advantages and, you know, to investing in that method. But we've got other projects. So Mandy that's coming out. In that case, we invested in the project itself. In fact, it wasn't just the film, it was also the soundtrack, the Johan Johansson soundtrack that goes with it. If you go to our website, you'll see, like I mentioned, those as the 3 projects that have made it to theaters so far. Those are other people's projects that we invested in. But we've also done our own projects where we are 100% behind the project. We own all the rights. So we did a virtual reality pilot with Kevin Smith and Stan Lee that we shot in Stan Lee's home. And that was one where we came up with the idea. We signed Stan and Kevin to do it. We financed the production. We own the footage outright. So it's really kind of all over the map, the way that we get involved with projects. We're just looking for projects that we think are a good fit for our community, that we can have a meaningful impact on.
Well, that's another one that I was going to ask as well about the target audience of the projects that you make, because when you are as a crowdfunded or as a community-based company, obviously you're looking at the demographic of the people that you are that have invested in Legion M. The question then is how far do you stretch your target in terms of the productions that you make, in terms of hard R, 18s, 15s rated films, family films? Because I've noticed that the projects that you've done so far, you've invested in, are very much adult orientated. There's Mandy, which is a very it's a very adult thriller. You've got Bad Samaritan, which is an amazing film, but it's very much for an adult audience. Are family films in the range? Where do you see the projects going in terms of what Legion M are aiming at?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, you know, I think for us, we definitely want to do family films. You know, well, what I should say is we aim to have a very diverse slate of projects. And there's 2 reasons. One is, I mean, Hollywood is a hit-driven business, which means it's very difficult to predict the success of any one particular film. And so the way that you build something to last, the way that you create a company that's going to stand the test of time, is to invest in a diverse array of projects. And in our case, we are diversified across media, from television to feature films to virtual reality and even live events with our Stan Lee event that we did last year. We want to be diversified.
I saw the pictures. I was jealous
epic.
as hell. I saw the pictures.
Oh my gosh, it was epic. It was epic. But we're diversified across genre, and it's tough because we've only had 3 projects and that have come out. And so, you know, what you're seeing is a little bit of a sampling. We're definitely clustered a little bit, probably in the dark, you know, or even horror sort of area. And we're seeking, if you go to our website, you'll see we've got an amazing 4-quadrant family sci-fi steampunk series that we're developing. We've got some adult animated comedy that we've got some unscripted television series. And so it really, we aim to span the gamut. You know, you said it on the outset, Comic-Con and Sundance are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum from a content standpoint, because Comic-Con is all about tentpole feature films, you know, studio films. Sundance is all about independent film. But what's interesting is if you go to both, the people, the participants, the fans that are there share so much DNA, right? They love creativity. They're a warm, welcoming, fun community that's passionate about entertainment. And so for us, like, that gives us, the fact that we've got that as our tooth poles gives us a lot of space in between to fill in. So anything that could fit on a Comic-Con panel, like, that's going to be a good fit for Legion M. Anything that you could see happening at Sundance Activation, that's going to be a good fit as well.
Every time I've tried to describe what Legion M is to people, I've used a phrase, and I've regretted using it almost the second I've said it, because the phrase is, it's monetizing passion. that sounds a little bit mercenary, but it is
Yes.
that is the case. You're bringing the passion in, and you're allowing projects to come to fruition off the back of that passion. And I think that's an exciting thing, and I think that's the thing that makes Legion M so exciting. Let's talk about
and actually just to add to that, because I think that what you're saying is very accurate. But I think what makes it so powerful is that we're not monetizing passion for our gain, or, you know, some corporate overlord, right? We are harnessing your passion, but you also are participating in the success. If we achieve this goal of 1 million fans, the people that are investing now, they're making money, right? They're part of this. This isn't like a Kickstarter project where you're going to get a t-shirt and our thanks. You literally are a co-owner of the company. And that's, I think, what makes it so powerful and allows us to do things that have never been done before. You know, Steven Spielberg.
Now you see, if I'd have thought of sticking that on the end of the phrase, it would have made more sense. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the interaction with the fans then, because like you say, going to these events, going to San Diego Comic-Con, going to Comic-Cons generally, it does allow you to not only interact with your with the Legion itself, but also kind of bring new people to the fore. It was interesting that you chose Harbour House, because it is, while a major building down there on Harbour, down in Seaport, it is a little bit further out of the way than some. Was it a way that you could kind of bring people to Legion M rather than just kind of stumbling on, kind of like avoiding the tire kickers, as it were? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. To be honest, it has probably a lot more to do with economics than any sort of strategic decision. I mean, I'll tell you, from our side, going to San Diego Comic-Con is really challenging because it's super expensive and there is so much noise at Comic-Con. And so for us as a company and as a small company and as a company that's funded by fans, right? People aren't investing in us so that we can throw a kick-ass Comic-Con party. You know, so everything that we do when we do our activations, you know, we try to figure out ways to get sponsors involved to help pay for it. We figure out ways that we can do it kind of scrappy startup style. I mean, we're still very much in kind of a guerrilla marketing tactic sort of front. So, you know, maybe someday it'll make sense for us to, you know, have something right in the heart of Comic-Con, you know, some massive activation that costs, but it will only be when we can bring in a sponsor that's going to help pay for it. And so right now, with all of our stuff, you know, we're trying to find smart ways that we can get out there, that we can engage with the community. And yeah, I mean, I think that that's the best explanation.
No, that makes sense. I mean, while I kind of said it was a little bit out of the way, it's still a prime location. It is a gorgeous building right there in Seaport Village. I mean, what can you... Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and this is the first year that we've actually had a location like that we own the entire time. And so again, like for us, that was the step up this year, was to have a place where our community could come. And also, you know, like I said, we did the Buffy activation there, and we did the Stargate activation there, and we did all the stuff with Skybound around The Walking Dead. And so those fans came to find us, right? The Legion M people, like, it's not so far off that you got to take like a taxi.
Yeah.
You know, it was close enough that it worked for us.
Excellent. What was your particular highlights of that particular weekend? Because I can imagine it also, like the rest of us attending, it turns into a bit of a blur the further you step away from it. But I mean, was there any high points that still stand out as big memories for you for the weekend?
Well, it's kind of funny that you asked that, because again, you know, people assume like, oh, okay, here you are going off to Comic-Con, you know, and the fact is I spent half of Comic-Con in the hotel room finishing an SEC filing because we had a deadline with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So, you know, we had a team that was working their butts off, you know, down at Harbour House. I unfortunately spent half of the con cooped up in a hotel room, like this on my computer, because it had to get done. So that said, so the highlight was sunshine, like actually getting outdoors was nice. And I'll tell you, I think one of the coolest things was there's a project on our slate called Evermore. And if you go to our website, you'll see it. And it's not, it's a development stage project, which means it's an idea. There's a script. We're trying to package it, which means that we're trying to connect a talent and like a director or a showrunner to it, so that we can package it up and sell it like to a Netflix or to a studio or something like that. And so those deals are inherently long shot deals. Like they're hard. They're really hard to be successful. But that project is special because it's actually was created by a member of Legion M. And it was just kind of when, he came to one of our Comic-Con activations and talked to our head of development and pitched him on this idea. And Terry Lubroff said, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to learn more. And we dug in, and it was an amazing project. He's got an amazing script. And so he was there, and his partner, the two writers of this show that created this show, Legion M members, they're not professional screenwriters. They both worked in the Air Force, and they were there. And we did a whole presentation where they took over. They had all the materials, all the developed materials, and this amazing photography. They created little souvenirs, for fans to come and own. And so, if we're successful to turn that show into a show or a franchise, there are going to be all the people that were there at Harbor House were there at the very beginning when it was, when we were just trying to get it off the ground. And I think that that's so special. And again, it goes back to our philosophy of trying to open the gates of Hollywood, and the fact that it's created by a Legion M member, and hopefully the Legion is going to make it successful. Like, to me, I think that was a really exciting moment. And so I'm really hoping that in a couple of years, we're going to look back at that and say, wow, what an amazing opportunity to have been there in the room.
That's fantastic. Does Legion M also, like you talk about, bringing other talent in to help develop a project? Is that something that is that something you intended for Legion M from the beginning, or because that's spinning a lot of plates to bring everyone together on top of everything else that you're wanting to do with Legion M?
Yes. Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I mean, to be honest, so Legion M, our company, is relatively small. There's 5 of us full time, and that's intentional. Like, my salary and, the expense of me, I'm overhead at Legion M. Right. And when people invest in us, if you invest $100 in Legion M, our job is to turn that into $200 or $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is. And so, for us, every dollar that we're not investing in a project is something that we scrutinize, very seriously. So we're a very small team. And instead, what we like to do is partner with people and bring them in. So in this particular project, like I said, we're developing it. We're not going to go film this ourselves, even if we could raise, it might cost $10 or $15 million to develop this series, just to use that as an example. We would never raise that money and then go try and produce it, because it's an enormous amount of work. It's extremely high risk. If we raise $15 million, we need to spread that out over 10 to 15 different projects so that we've got multiple irons in the fire. So what we want to do is connect. And this is one of the areas where Legion M, the fact that we're owned by fans, gives us an advantage. Like I mentioned earlier, we did a virtual reality pilot, which is very similar kind of to this analogy we're talking about, with Kevin Smith and Stan Lee. And Kevin Smith and Stan Lee are two guys that can do, frankly, whatever project they want. And in our case, we didn't pay them. Like they didn't get paid they own a piece of the project. But they did this speculative in the hopes that this project would become a success. And I think that that's very rare for people like that, who have the ability to command $1 million, salaries and stuff like that, to do something, to take a speculative swing.
Ooh, I think we've lost
a corporate. Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you there for a little second there, about 10 seconds at the end.
Well, so all I was saying was that when we come to Stan, we're not coming to him as a corporate conglomerate saying, hey, you know, we're going to do this thing, you know, we're coming to him literally as a collection of fans that have said, Stan, we want to do this project with you. And that opens so many doors for us. And again, is one of those just fundamentally different things that we think has the potential to make Legion M something that is massive.
Fantastic. When it came to the Harbour House, you had people coming through the door. They were finding out about Legion M for the first time. Like you say, members of the Legion as well. I know you say that you weren't able to spend a great deal of time at the actual Harbour House venue itself, but I'm certain you got the reaction back. What was the kind of demographic of people coming through the door? Was it mostly people who were discovering Legion M for the first time?
That's a great question. I think at Harbour House, it was probably a mix. You know, I mean, it's when we do these lounges, they're open for our community. You know, you can join Legion M for free as a member. It costs you literally nothing. As well as the people. We've got over probably 40 or 50,000 members, free members like that. And then we've got over 10,000 investors that have actually put money in. And so it's a combination of that community that knows and loves Legion M and just wants to kind of hang out, as well as, you know, people that are curious or people that have heard about it or people that might be a fan of something else that are dropping by. So it's kind of all over the map.
Excellent. Okay, we've got one or two people that are coming in when it comes to the comments, including we've got ourselves at Michael P, who is a member, a proud member at that. He turns around and says, are any Legion M events planned for New York Comic Con? I suppose we can also up to other conventions in the foreseeable future. Have you got any plans coming down the pipe?
We absolutely do. New York is going to be a big one for us. We've got a panel where we're announcing a new project, and it's a very cool new project that we're very excited about. And so I know that we're doing that at New York Comic Con. I'm sure that we'll have a meetup. I don't know if we're going to have like a presence, like a Harbour House, or if there might be a party or something like that. Those plans are still kind of coming together. We also just announced a deal, a 3-year partnership with Los Angeles Comic Con, formerly Stan Lee's Los Angeles Comic Con, formerly Kamikaze.
You see, you're beating me to my next points. You see.
Yes. So anyway, so we're going to be there for sure. We've got 2 big spaces on the show floor where we're planning to do a fan oasis, and we've got a bunch of really cool stuff planned. We're also going to be at Fantastic Fest in Austin, which is an amazing genre film festival. I don't want to spend too much time. It's literally one of my favorite film festivals in the world. It's all elevated genre, so sci-fi, horror. It's intimate. It's the sort of thing where you walk into the movie, they do a Q&A when you're done, and then when that's done, you walk out and everybody's hanging out in the lobby, and you get the chance, if you got questions that you weren't able to get answered, like you can talk to people there. It's incredible. So we're going to do those. Those are the 3 things that are on our radar this instant. And then we'll probably be back at Sundance. I expect, we haven't announced anything yet, but I expect we'll be back at Sundance this year. And it's tough because, as you know, there's like a con. There's more than one con every weekend in America right now. And so we get out to as many of them as we can, but only when the cost justifies it. Because again, you didn't invest in this to have us be hanging out at Comic Cons all over the world.
That makes sense. Okay, so you touched on it there. The 3-year deal that you've taken on with Los Angeles Comic Con.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Explain why that was an important step for Legion M to take.
It's so Comic Cons are an amazing opportunity, like I said, for us to gather our community. We want to do our shareholder meetings at Comic Con. Again, we're a company, so there are, we have to have shareholder meetings. Like, that's the thing. And this is one of the ways that we can show how Legion M is different. And Los Angeles Comic Con is nice because it's in our backyard, right? I'm in Silicon Valley. The rest, Paul and I, the two co-founders, are in Silicon Valley. The rest of the team is in Los Angeles. And so, LA Comic Con is a great con. It's a nice size con. I love San Diego, but as a company, it is so hard to make a splash or to do anything meaningful there, because there are brands that are spending millions of dollars, at Comic-Con. There's so much noise. It's really hard to stand out. And so we thought, we've got a lot of history with Los Angeles Comic-Con. It's a wonderful con. We love going each year. It's a nice size for us to be able to really do something. And this is just part of our strategy of letting people know about Comic-Con, about Legion M. Because what we found is that if you tell everybody at Comic-Con, if you line up 100 random people and tell them what Legion M is, most of them are going to want to get involved, because it's such a natural fit. But our job is to help them find out. And so that's why we look at partnerships like these.
Excellent. Well, we've got a question here from Graham Small. I think this one's pretty good as well. It's a big question, though. The comment about San Diego Comic-Con when it comes to the studios is often too much noise. That it's Comic-Con seems to be something that the major studios are impacted by. Also, hence them a couple of studios skipping Comic-Con recently. But at the end of the day, they are, Sarita P also points out, they are also the reason for the too much noise. The reason why San Diego Comic-Con has grown to become this monster. I think the spin-off from those 2 points is the fact that you have to kind of make some kind of an impact at these events, and that can be rather difficult. At the end of the day, is it worth Legion M going to something like San Diego Comic-Con?
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And everything you say and everything he says is spot on. And it's kind of a conundrum. But I think that it's such a magical time. It's such a magical place that we will always be there. And, like I said, we're not going to dump millions of dollars into, something that's just marketing and promotion. What we look to do is to do impactful things. We're a startup company. Paul and I are Silicon Valley guys. We're scrappy. We try and find it's also very different because when a studio is doing something there, they're spending money to kind of capture everybody's attention. And I think that the relationship that a traditional studio has with fans is very different than the relationship that we have with fans, because we're owned by fans. And so I think that, we're always looking to figure out ways that we can contribute to the community and, help make it better, as opposed to necessarily just trying to grab the attention of the community, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it sounds like Legion M is not only just getting started, but you are absolutely on a roll at the moment. Like I say, Bad Samaritan was an amazing film. I'm a huge fan of the first project of Colossal. But can we also talk about something that's coming out this week to kind of wrap things up? My word, have you got something coming out this week? Not only is it a monster of a movie, you've got a monster of a lead actor. You have yourself Nicolas Cage, who is a whirling dervish on his own. Tell us about Mandy.
So Mandy is a truly one-of-a-kind movie. As you mentioned, it stars Nicolas Cage. It doesn't just star Nicolas Cage. It stars Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. It is like Nicolas Cage turned up to 11 in a wonderful way. It's funny, and being involved with this project, I've learned that Nicolas can sometimes be a little bit of a polarizing figure. but I'll tell you, he is amazing in this role. There's a scene, a lot of the reviews have mentioned this as well, so it's not just my opinion. A lot of people have said this, and I'm not going to spoil anything. It's a solo scene with Nick Cage. It takes place in a bathroom. You will know it when you see it, and it will go down in Nicolas Cage's reel of one of the greatest Nick Cage scenes of all time. It's absolutely stunning. And, you know, the film is, like I said, it's a true one of a kind. It's very dark. It's very violent. It's very weird. And I mean that in like what I consider a good way and what a lot of people consider a good way, but it's like, you know, it's like a Stanley Kubrick movie. Like I think the best analogy or the best kind of log line for this film is that it's like Clockwork Orange meets Deliverance. Like, it's out there. It's not a mainstream movie. It's a midnight movie. We launched a whole new label called Legion Midnight because we felt that this is the sort of thing that we wanted to do. And this is, you know, the sort of movie where guys like Stanley Kubrick get it, or David Lynch, you know, get a chance to kind of push the boundaries and step outside of the box and do something that is truly groundbreaking. And the movie it's going to be coming out this coming Thursday. It's been incredibly well received. It was one of the best reviewed films at Sundance. It got a 4-minute standing ovation at Cannes. And right now, I think it's like 97 or 98% Rotten Tomatoes. So like I said up front, it's not a mainstream movie. Like, you watch the trailer and you'll see like, okay, yeah, this is my sort of movie, or, oh no. And if it's your sort of movie, I think at least so far, you know, people have really responded well to it.
It's yours. If you actually turn around and say it's your sort of movie, it's the kind of thing you admit to yourself. Maybe, yeah, you maybe not tell people, you know, you don't tell the girlfriend's parents. Who knows?
At least not, yeah. Or your girlfriend if it's the first date, right? You know, if you're a few dates in and you've gotten to that point where you can open up about it. I mean, it's well, like I said, I mean, it's not a guilty pleasure sort of movie. It's not like a Con Air or something like that. It's artistic. I mean, it's moving, it's challenging, it's outlandish. Like, there's scenes in this film that I, as a viewer, find uncomfortable to watch. And they're intentionally like that because of what Panos is doing in this journey that he's taking us on. And so, you know, by the end of the movie, the most common, you know, response is like, what just happened? You know, but it's definitely the sort of movie that leaves a mark. And like I said, I think that generally in a good way. And I think for the people that like it, that are into it, that like midnight movies, that likes going off the beaten path, you can't do any better.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think the word that I'm feeling for all of the films that we've talked about and the Legion M project so far has been challenging. I'm looking forward to seeing Legion M also embracing the not so niche, and I'm really looking. I'm excited for seeing what Legion M have got coming down the pipe. It's an exciting company. It's an exciting way of actually galvanizing the fans as well. I think that's the thing that really kind of gets me excited about it. We've got ourselves. I do want to kind of wrap things up, because we do have ourselves a live report which we're going to be going to. But very quickly, if you want to. If people want to find out more about Legion M, because I know that some people have been saying on the chat room, they're waiting on round 4. They're wanting to get involved. This is what it's all about. So where's the best place for people to find about Legion M?
Just go to legionm.com. And like I said earlier, you can sign up completely for free. We're not always raising money. Like, if you go to the website today, you literally cannot invest. Our last round finished up about a month or two ago. It was way oversubscribed, so it sold out. You know, we had to close it down. We were limited by law as to how much money we were allowed to accept in that fundraising round. Round 4 will be opening relatively soon. You can make a reservation today, but you know, we just tell people, just go sign up. It's completely free. It's a way for you to see firsthand what we're all about. And if it's the sort of thing that you want to be a part of and you want to invest, that's wonderful. And if not, that's fine too. You know, we love to have, this is a movement, and you know, the bigger we get, the more powerful we become, the bigger projects we're able to do. And yeah, so if you like the idea of a fan-owned entertainment company, if you believe in the power of fans, then check it out at legionm.com.
I am a follower. I'm wanting to invest. I haven't had the funds available when the rounds have opened, but hopefully for round 4, fingers crossed, I will be getting in, because, like I say, it's an exciting stuff, and the things you have brought out and brought to bear have been amazing. If you're watching this, if you haven't seen Bad Samaritan yet, do check it out, because that is a unique watch. And not only that, but it's got David Tennant in there as well, and it's got
rock star.
Isn't he just? And of course, Mandy is out. It's out in the US this week. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, that's correct. It comes out in the US on Thursday. In the UK, I believe it's about a month from now. I don't actually know that handoff or that specific date offhand, but look for it.
It's on the way. That's what we like to see. Brilliant. Thank you so much indeed for your time. I'm really glad that you've been able to join us, and all the best for Legion M down the line.
All the best for you. Thanks, Leonard, so much for having me on your show.
Brilliant. Take care. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Excellent. So there we go. That was cool. Like I say, I really would check it out. There's more to Legion M than meets the eye, and there's more coming. I think that is the sense of potential. If you manage to get down to Harbour House, you kind of got it, and you got the idea of what they were bringing to bear. Now we've got Dan Berry, who is on standby. He's going to be joining us very shortly indeed. But while he's getting himself sorted out, I do want to kind of announce our winner of our cup of tea competition that we announced 2 weeks ago. This was to win a San Diego Comic-Con 2018 souvenir book, which is the one with the Marvel Mondo print that was featured as a Mondo exclusive this year, with artwork by UK artist Matt Taylor. I'm catching up with Matt in about a week and a half time, and I'm going to get him to sign the copy. And basically, we asked for the best stories that you have from your conventions. In other words, it could be a story, it could be a photo, it could be. Oh, let me just turn Dan off. Well, mute him for a second. Bear with me a second. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about some photo, video, story, anyway, that you wanted to share your best Comic-Con experience. I have chosen one, and that would be DeLorean Wolfgang on Twitter, who he sent a bunch of pictures in. He is known for taking his DeLorean to conventions and giving it the full Back to the Future experience. His best memory, 2018 at San Diego Comic-Con. It's hard to choose just one. Getting arrested in my DeLorean after going 88 miles an hour on 5th Street. I'd like to know how you actually achieved that. Still needs a bailout, apparently. Ready Player One experience, getting to be on stage at Funko Fridays, and briefly meeting Andrew Bowser. He had a whole bunch of things. I'm going to reshare that as our winner. Do check out the photos that he shared with us, because he has had a great time and he shared a great story. And I want to say congratulations, DeLorean Wolfgang. You are our winner of our 2018 souvenir book, signed by Matt Taylor. We will get that to you very shortly indeed. Now, if I turn the audio back on, hopefully, if I can get that up and running, Dan Berry, it should be on standby. Dan, are you there, sir?
Am I?
You are live. How are you doing, sir? Oh, we seem to keep getting audio cut off. Hello, Dan? Oh, no, this is where it's going to get rather awkward. Ah, there we go. Have we got sound now? Yes, we do. Hello there, Dan. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
We can indeed. We've got time for about maybe 5 minutes with you. You are joining us from Long Beach Comic Con, and I can see you wandering around the floor at the moment. It's a typical Sunday. There's a little bit of space on the floor, but it's, from what I've seen so far from social media, it's been a busy con. How's it been for you?
It's been, well, like you said, it's been a pretty busy con. Yeah, I think yesterday I was going back to panels, taking a ton of photos for you, which I'll give you on Monday or tomorrow or tonight. Some great panels, not that many panels, but the ones they had were pretty good. The Steve Ditko panel was very interesting. They actually had a special guest who was believe it or not, his nephew came out.
Oh, hello. We've got a fingerprint over your camera.
Oops, sorry.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so
No worries.
Steve Ditko's nephew came out and was kind of talking about his uncle, and people were asking him questions about his uncle. So that was an interesting panel. Trying to remember some of the other panels that I was at yesterday. The DC panel was interesting with Dan Didio and a few other DC creators. So it was a good day overall.
So has it been more a case of the panels have been the things that have attracted your attention, or has the floor been something that's caught your eye as well?
The floor is the floor. It's not huge, but what they do have is kind of interesting. I'm kind of wandering the floor, as you can see. So the panels have really caught my eye this year.
Okay. So, I mean, we're struggling to kind of hear you at this point because there's all sorts of background noise, but we'll do what we can. I know that we had Altner appearing at this particular event and also having a panel. Oh, sorry, it's okay. You're there? Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can indeed.
Cool.
I know that Altner were at the event this weekend, and also had a panel as well. How did it go for them? Because they have been a little bit in the eye of the storm this week in regards to several controversies in the comic industry. How've they gone?
I did not go to the panel because it was at the same time as some other panels, so the booth has been pretty active. Yeah, I think I'm right near the booth now. I can't remember where the booth is. Here's the Aftershocks booth.
Well, there's Aftershock, so we could stay there for a little while.
Okay.
I'm always a fan.
Cool. And then right next to them is
stuff.
Aspen, and then Fanbase and Top Cow are all in a row.
So it's very much the kind of the smaller publishers all in one go, and it seems to be that's what Long Beach very much is for, the smaller independents rather than the big two.
Correct, yeah, because I don't think DC or Marvel, other than the DC panel, really have a presence here.
I think that shows a lot of support for independent publishers, and I think that's a really cool way for the thing to go. I think for that show, I think it shows a lot of to show support for comics and to show support for the industry. I think that's cool.
Yeah, but there's a ton of independent publishers. I actually interviewed one of them yesterday, so I'll get you that audio and pictures later.
Excellent stuff. If you can just tell us in 30 seconds then your thoughts on Long Beach Comic Con for 2018.
Great little con. It seems about the same size as last year's one, but the panels at this particular show I think are even better. The floor is good, the cosplay is good as always, and the cosplay contest was great.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, I mean, it does look like a little bit of a quiet day, which I can kind of understand. Like you say, it is a Sunday after all.
Right.
But certainly the pictures that have been seen. Yeah, and not only that, but when we have spoken to Long Beach before, we had an incidental episode that took place earlier on this week, and they did say that they had to struggle against other conventions that are taking part this weekend. At the end of the day, that's kind of the nature of the beast, which is a shame. But it's good to see that it's gone well and that you've enjoyed it, sir.
As always, I have.
Excellent. Looking forward to the panels and looking forward to your coverage, and we'll try and get it up on probably on our social media channels over the course of the next couple of days. Dan, thank you very much indeed for joining us, sir.
Cool. Thank you for having me once again.
All right. Take care. So there you go. That's Dan Berry giving us a brief glimpse at what Long Beach Comic Con's like. Today was always going to be about our chat about Legion M. Hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you do find out more about the Legion M experience at their website, because it really is something I think can grow and develop, and we'll be seeing more of it as we go down the next couple of years and as it grows and develops. That's it. That's our show for today. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. If you've been listening on mixler.com/Englishman SDCC, you can listen back to that as we're going to add this to our show reel. And of course, we'll be taking the audio taking one or two of the glitches out and sticking it up on SoundCloud and also Apple Podcasts over the course of the next couple of days. In about half an hour's time, I'm going to be heading over to our Patreon page for a live stream, an after show for those people who do support us at patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC. I'm going to be announcing our special guests next week over the next couple of days, but I think you're going to really enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of conventions here in the UK. We've got a couple of very special guests that are going to be joining us on the next couple of weeks' shows. Also next week, I'm going to be bringing the show direct from ICE, the International Comics Expo, based out of Birmingham. I'm going to be following on the second day of the event, which is the Discovering Comics, which is all about actually creating comics within the industry. So it's a 2-day event. I'm going to be in Birmingham, and I'll be bringing the show from there, as well as bringing our special guests on board as well. Fingers crossed, we may also be joined by Mark Serby, who will be telling us all about how he's enjoyed Arctic Monkeys tonight, instead of coming on here. You know, it's all about priorities. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Back again next week for another Talkin Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. From us to you, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.